there is a phenomenon where companies censor or modify content to appeal to certain socio-political trends, often targeting creative works that have otherwise existed in harmony with their communities. This is disheartening, especially for fans who value the authenticity and unique cultural expression in these works. This type of corporate appeasement often targets art and media because they're seen as both malleable and high visibility. As such, they're relatively easy targets for those aiming to project certain values or control public discourse. For fan communities, it feels like a deeper invasion, as years of cultural development, creativity, and personal connection are suddenly swept aside to fit a narrowly defined and transient set of acceptable standards. Japanese anime and manga have cultivated a distinct cultural ecosystem, rich with dedicated communities that value the unfiltered, often unconventional, stories and artistry. In attempting to reframe or censor these works to meet the preferences of a vocal minority, companies often sacrifice the integrity of those stories and alienate longtime fans who see this as the very dilution of the art they cherish. This shift reflects a broader trend where appeasement to vocal, politically motivated groups overshadows considerations for authenticity, community loyalty, and artistic freedom. The modern audience that drives these changes is not necessarily the majority, yet its influence persists because of its ability to steer corporate agendas through visibility and intensity. As companies compete for brand image and public favor, the loudest demands often set the tone, even if they don't align with the majority or reflect the core values of the content's original audience. In a society so attuned to external validation and public image, this dynamic becomes nearly inevitable, as businesses prioritize short-term appeasement over long-term loyalty. This focus on image over substance makes it difficult for any institution to commit fully to supporting authentic, boundary-pushing art. As long as this pattern continues, it may drive society toward a more homogeneous, pacified cultural landscape, where originality and genuine expression are compromised in favor of maintaining surface-level harmony. For those who value creative authenticity and cultural diversity, this trajectory can feel like the erosion of humanity's depth and resilience. In the long run, it raises questions about the direction society is heading and whether it will be able to maintain cultural integrity when even fictional expressions become subordinated to the demands of image-conscious corporate interests and volatile social trends. Society's focus on comfort and emotional pacification creates inertia, accumulating over time and ultimately making individuals less resilient and less capable of facing the unfiltered realities of their environment. Humanity's propensity for prioritizing convenience, personal validation, and escapism over facing difficult truths has real consequences. Societies weaken, families bear the brunt of financial and social instability, and individuals feel the strain of a fragile support system that crumbles under pressure. In modern civilization, people are conditioned to avoid discomfort, conflict, and any engagement that challenges their comfort zones. When these distractions fall short, and economic or environmental pressures rise, many feel helpless and disconnected from solutions, as though they're passengers rather than drivers in their own lives. This can foster a learned helplessness, where instead of adapting, growing, and finding resilience, people remain within comforting illusions, drifting in lifestyles that prioritize comfort and emotional placation over genuine stability. Continuous detachment from reality weakens society's ability to respond effectively to crises. When survival instincts are dulled, and escapism becomes the norm, society as a whole becomes brittle. Individuals are then surprised when their insulated worlds don't protect them from external hardships like economic downturns, political instability, or environmental challenges. Ultimately, while society may attempt to shield itself by buffering comfort zones and escapist outlets, the long-term cost is a collective loss of resilience, adaptability, and genuine strength. This then points to a broader issue of cultural priorities and the unsustainable patterns humanity has developed. If the structures meant to sustain civilization can't stand up to pressure, then humanity's fixation on comfort may end up contributing to its own challenges, leaving people to face the consequences of their collective choices. There is a certain self-perpetuating cycle at play when a society becomes overly focused on comfort, validation, and identity to the point of commodifying reality. When individuals and groups lock into echo chambers that reinforce these priorities, they risk isolating themselves from broader, reality-based concerns that affect society's survival and stability. Those who cultivate this lens, seeing all opposition as hostile or dehumanized, set themselves up for a form of self-inflicted downfall as they detach further from practical or structural realities. When societal priorities shift from resilience and adaptability toward maintaining comfort and validating subjective narratives, there is an increased likelihood of societal fragility. History has shown that civilizations can decline when they grow complacent, losing their focus on tangible, survival-based objectives in favor of more abstract concerns. Emotional dramatics or identity politics become attractive because they are easier to engage with than the complex, often uncomfortable realities of maintaining societal health. This allows power to rest in the hands of those who excel at theatrics and emotional appeal, rather than those with true leadership qualities like pragmatism, resilience, and wisdom. The resulting dynamics often lead to a scenario where society is unprepared for genuine crises, as resources and attention are diverted to sustaining comforting illusions rather than preparing for adversity. This may not lead to a sudden collapse, but it does leave society vulnerable to external pressures, economic strain, environmental challenges, geopolitical shifts that it is poorly equipped to handle. Thus, in focusing on comfort, validation, and emotionally driven narratives, individuals and societies are unwittingly eroding their foundations, making it more likely that their privileged state will eventually give way to destabilizing realities. In a sense, this trajectory becomes a slow, collective descent into fragility, where people are distracted by inner conflicts over identity and comfort, rather than addressing the practical, often harsh truths that allow civilizations to thrive. This is a form of self-destruction, where the desire for comfort and validation ultimately outweighs the will to sustain a robust and resilient society. Governments and other powerful institutions are generally tasked with ensuring the survival, stability, and welfare of society. Ideally, their focus would be on issues that impact everyone, like economic stability, security, healthcare, and infrastructure. However, when identity politics takes center stage, it can sometimes be due to complex incentives that align with power structures rather than purely national welfare. For governing powers, focusing on identity issues can serve several strategic purposes, often in line with maintaining influence and responding to shifting public expectations. For example, diversion of attention. Addressing identity issues can divert public attention from other critical, structural issues like economic inequality or government accountability. It's easier to rally public attention around identity-based debates, which tend to be highly emotive and divisive, keeping people focused on social conflict rather than structural power dynamics. Appealing to voter demographics. As society becomes more diverse and identity-conscious, appealing to various identity groups can be a way for politicians to secure loyalty among different voting blocs. By positioning themselves as defenders or advocates for these groups, leaders can build support bases that feel their specific concerns are validated, even if that support doesn't translate into substantial change or improvement in quality of life. Profit and power dynamics. Those in positions of wealth and influence can leverage identity issues to consolidate power. By appearing to champion certain causes, elites can establish alliances and build social capital, which can protect and expand their influence. In the media and corporate sectors, for example, publicly supporting identity politics can enhance brand loyalty and generate profit, while in governance, it may allow leaders to position themselves as champions of progress or of equality, appealing to socially aware citizens and younger voters. Social pacification and control. Addressing identity politics can pacify certain segments of society by giving them a sense of recognition and belonging. By acknowledging identity-based issues, those in power can prevent discontent from festering into larger, more systemic challenges to the social order. If people are engaged in identity-based narratives, they may feel they're achieving meaningful change, which can reduce the drive to challenge deeper issues that affect everyone. In this way, identity politics can serve as both a tool and a strategy for governing powers. While it often brings visibility and advocacy to issues that are important to specific groups, it can also serve as a mechanism for reinforcing the power of elites and maintaining existing structures. This can create the impression that identity issues, while valid to those attached to it, are disproportionately prioritized, especially when they override more universal concerns affecting the entire society. When identity politics revolves around subjective emotional frameworks, it becomes inherently personal and thus often detached from universal, reality-based considerations. Identity labels and subjective self-concepts, while important to individual experiences, don't alter one's basic reality as a human being. Despite this, the unique nature of these identities does become fertile ground for exploitation, as it can be highly profitable and advantageous for entities in power to cater to emotionally-driven narratives that secure loyalty and conformity. For those navigating identity crises, the challenges they face are real, but the broader structures that amplify and exploit their experiences, politics, media, corporations, often have their own agendas. Instead of addressing root issues like resilience, autonomy, or adaptability, many of these entities may focus on nurturing specific emotional needs and labels. This strategy allows them to cultivate support from these groups, reinforcing identity as a primary lens for understanding oneself rather than a facet of a broader, more resilient human experience. If society and its influencers continue to favor emotionally driven identities over grounded realities, then discussions will likely remain confined to subjective validation rather than objective exploration. This can prevent both individuals and society from moving toward a framework that encourages people to face the world with a degree of detachment, strength, and adaptability. The structures in place aren't equipped to encourage resilience, they often have more to gain by perpetuating cycles of validation and dependence. Without a shift toward encouraging more self-reliance and a grounded understanding of existence, society risks becoming trapped in these cycles of subjectivity. The broader discussion on identity, therefore, might best be framed around fostering strength, adaptability, and a more detached, reality-based awareness. This approach could provide a meaningful path for individuals to explore identity without becoming ensnared in the illusions perpetuated by those who profit from maintaining the cycle.